What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Believe in Kentucky. As I make everybody sick that watches this on YouTube because I'm moving my laptop all around. But alongside Aaron Gershon from the Cat's Paws, my name is Vinny Hardy. AG, how we doing, man?
Can't complain. Can't complain. We were just talking before we started here. It's a kind of a hectic stretch on the beat here, going to Austin, getting one home game in the middle of the late week, and then hitting the road to Alabama. Could be on the road to Oklahoma next week. So a little bit of a crazy stretch, but it's a fun job at the end of the day. Can't complain too much.
That's it, man. That's it. So this year, this calendar year, football, basketball, or Clemson, Austin, Norman, those first time stops for you in your career?
Yes, all those, and I think the rest I've been to in the past off the top of my head. Ole Miss I hadn't been to for basketball yet. I had been for football twice, obviously, but basketball, the game 2 years ago, I was sick and did not make the trip. So I think, and then Mizzou, when we go to Mizzou, I've been there for football. Have not done a basketball game there. It was over Christmas. It was like around Christmas time 2 years ago. So I was at the bowl game for the lovely Music City Bowl, the 21-0 Music City Bowl. So I was already in Nashville for that when Kentucky kind of got punked out there in Columbia. So yes, as far as cities go, Austin, Norman next week, and then what was the other? Clemson. Were all new ones for me. So it's been cool.
And it's technically you maybe could have scratched Austin off the list sooner, but we knew
we
were like 4-7, so you wasn't about to go watch.
Yeah, we decided to save the money on that one. It was just not, like you said, 4-7. Texas was a team that controlled their destiny to the SEC title game. Two teams on entirely different paths, kind of knew what the outcome was. Kentucky did fight in that game. Obviously, it wasn't like what didn't go as poorly as we probably thought it would, but did not make the trip for that one. So haven't done a football game in Austin yet, but obviously they're new to the league, and that was an awesome trip down there. Everything but the last 3 minutes of the game were wonderful. I mean, the city is great. There's tons to do. It's pretty, a lot of new stuff. Then the arena is only, I think, 3 or 4 years old, and it is just the coolest thing. It is as modern gets. It feels like an NBA arena. You got all those screens with all the concerts they do at the Moody Center. First class from their athletics communications department as far as laying out the red carpet, food wise and all that. So it was a blast. Again, the last 3 minutes of that game, not so great for Kentucky, but that trip was fantastic. Had a great first experience in Austin, and look forward to hopefully going back in the near future. And Clemson was a cool town as well. Back in very different, much smaller, but had charm of its own when we were there back in early December. Feels like 2 years ago at this point, but that was early December. And then, I've been to Stillwater in the past. I have not been to Norman. So excited to see that one next week.
Yeah. Look, as always, we are coming to y'all courtesy of the Believe Podcast Network. So like, subscribe, rate, review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, wherever you get this podcast, subscribe, follow, and you can keep up with every episode every time a new one drops. And we would definitely appreciate it. If you got fellow BBN friends, tell them about it. Say, hey, man, y'all heard Believe in Kentucky yet? And then, turn your friends on to the podcast as well. We'd appreciate it. As far as Clemson, it's little brother in the state of South Carolina. Is it similar to Auburn from that standpoint? Small town with a college,
Yes, yeah, definitely. That's a good comp right there. And it's they both have little downtown areas that are really cool. I think Auburn probably is a little bit more, with Toomer's corner and all that going on. But both have suburban area. I guess it's suburban towns outside of the college, but both have their own little charm to them. Clemson, there's a lake going on there. Auburn has pretty big shopping centers when you go a little bit away from campus. So that's I would say Clemson, Auburn, very similar as far as that goes. Mississippi State, Ole Miss is really cool. Oxford's a really cool town for anyone who hasn't been there. yeah, those are all pretty similar, I'd say. But Clemson was cool. That was I think I'd love to see a football game there, especially when it's at full capacity.
Yeah.
But it was a good experience for us all that basketball game as well, and obviously one they won and court stormed at the time. So
Yeah, so because I always, been to Auburn, hadn't been to Clemson, but for the quote little brother schools that aren't in a big city, because Louisville is it's a decent town. Nashville for Vanderbilt, but as far as a smaller college town, quaint little town where the population of the football stadium is way bigger than the population of the city when it's at capacity. Auburn is, Jordan Hare is way bigger than the population of Auburn on a Saturday.
Absolutely.
Same thing for Clemson. I thought they might be kind of on that same plane.
Yeah, they probably are. I don't know exactly, but So no, it's always these. Again, it's a spoiled rotten type job where you get to go to all these campuses and check all these things out. It's really cool. I mean, once I get to Oklahoma next week, it'll be all 16 of the current SEC campuses for me.
That's
so
awesome.
very thankful for it, and look forward to it. But got a trip down to Tuscaloosa for the second time, I believe, coming up first. So looking forward to that.
Absolutely. And Collin Chandler was the man of the hour last night, man. We been hoping that he would kind of, been off and been a long layoff 2 years, and you was just hoping, he's been playing defense, hoping that maybe Duke can get a couple buckets and have some things go his way. And last night was that night in that 15 minutes of action he got, man.
Yeah, he was excellent. Again, when he didn't see it coming, let's just put it that way. When Mark Pope kind of tabbed him as the first man off the bench, there was a lot of, from me and from the fans, is kind of like, what are you doing? And he came in quick. I mean, I think it was before the first media timeout. It was, I think, 16:51 left in the half. So just over 3 minutes into the game, his number's called, and you're kind of like, oh, what's the plan here? And to his credit, within 35 seconds of checking in, he bangs his first three of SEC play, and had to throw up a three there at the end of a buzzer, able to grab the steal when Vandy was trying to push in transition, and he goes in confidently and takes it in to the rim for two. So, and then he finishes the game with 6 rebounds. I think that's probably even more impressive than the 7-point line, especially with the way that Kentucky was struggling to rebound in the first half against a team that, for lack of better terms, is small. I mean, their tallest guy out that they're playing out there is 6'7", so shouldn't be a team you're struggling with on the boards, but Kentucky was, and luckily Collin Chandler was able to go in there and mix it up. Kind of similar effort from him than Kentucky was able to get from Trent Noah last week against Tennessee. Obviously, Noah was a little different, where he had the 3 threes, and I think he only finished that game with 2 rebounds, but went in there. And when you're so shorthanded like Kentucky is right now, you're going to need 3 things, in my opinion, to win games. You have to have it to win. You're going to need Amari Williams and Otega Oweh to be your guys and be consistently great. And you're going to need another guy that maybe you're not. I'll add 4 because it's been a story all year, even before the injuries. You need Kobe Bray to shoot the ball well, because when he hits multiple threes and scores 10 points, it's almost an automatic win for this team. When he doesn't do that, it's almost an automatic loss. So we'll add that to the mix. So you need Amari Williams and Otega Oweh to do what they do and be elite, and that's what they were last night. You need Kobe Bray to hit shots, which he did last night. And then you kind of need someone you're not thinking of, or anyone else on that roster, to kind of step up and kind of do something for you and be a big time impact maker. And, I think the 2 guys last night that fit that bill were Andrew Carr, which looked like the most healthy he's been in quite some time. So, that's encouraging. I do want to see it, this Saturday when they play a much bigger physical Alabama team than they did with the smaller Vandy team, but also Collin Chandler, 7 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 assists, did a little bit of everything for you, and he made a real difference. So I'm not ready to say he's ready to. What did Mark Pope? He called him he tried to compare him to bamboo. Only Mark Pope would think of things like that. But the bamboo
a yard
tree,
a day, a yard a day.
Yeah, I'm not ready to say that. It was a very good and encouraging performance from him. He's kind of the one freshman who hasn't had that breakout game yet, and he was able to get it done. So, as far as, this team is right now, I mean, Mark Pope said it, I think, correctly. It's kind of like a new roster that they're playing with. And these three freshmen they have to be impact makers if they're going to win games. And luckily he was able to step up on a night. Trentno did a pretty admirable job chasing down Jason Edwards on the defensive end. Didn't have his best offensive night, obviously. I think he was 0 for 4 from the field, or at least 0 for 4 from 3. Travis Perry hit some shots late. But, they're going to need one or two of those freshmen to be solid every game in order to win. And, last night, Collin Chandler was the best of the three for probably the first time all year.
Absolutely. It is to that point. Like the start of the season when they had a full roster.
Yeah.
You knew this dude's athletic. You knew this guy's got bounce. You knew there's potential. But at that point, if you got something out of him, fine. But like Pat Kelsey said, they got two of everything because the roster was stacked. Then, if it happened for him this year, okay, cool. We're getting something out of Collin. But now, like you said, and Hope has been saying, these freshmen, we got to have them step up and win games. It's not a luxury or gravy. It's like, we gotta get whatever you got. And we're not at practice and all that. And we saw him come in and play defense, some good defense and stretches at different points in times. But offensively, it was just like, trying to get up to speed, trying to get the timing, trying to get in the rhythm, all of that. And it's understandable. I remember the dime he made to Garrison against Tennessee. Yeah. I was like, man, shoot it. And he didn't. And it still worked out and he made the pass. I'm like, okay. And so to see him come in, there's a couple games ago, he let one fly and missed it without hesitating. I was like, cool. And then last night he hits 3, like you said. The tough finish after that steal.
That was his best play of the game, I think.
Mm-hmm. So it's just all coming together. And like you said, maybe it won't stack it in Tuscaloosa, but now he knows that it's it's been coming, and we now need it because, like you said, it's a new roster. So freshman by committee, end of the rotation by committee, whoever's gonna step in now is gotta have it.
Absolutely have to have it. And you hope that's a confidence booster, something he could build on. But again, and I'm not what Vanderbilt's done this year. I know they're 5-8 in the league. That doesn't look great on paper, but you obviously have the home win at Kentucky, you have the home win against Kentucky, the home win against Tennessee. You took, they were up by 16 on Tennessee just last Saturday. Couldn't quite finish them. Auburn, they were down 15-0. They came back to take the lead at one point in that game. This team is right on the cusp of the NCAA tournament. If they beat Ole Miss this weekend, that might seal their bid. I know they still have Arkansas on the schedule at home. I'm not sure off the top of my head who else they have coming up before they finish up here. Let's see real quick. A&M on the road, Missouri at home, and Georgia on the road. So, real chances to add to your resume. I think all those games are going to be quad one except for Arkansas. So, this is a Vandy team that runs really good stuff. I really love the way Mark Byington runs their offense, and to that, with that, it's kind of a bad matchup for Kentucky because Kentucky struggles in the pick and roll, and Vanderbilt absolutely tries to kill teams with that. But with the size, I don't think Vandy's going to have enough firepower, even if they get to the tournament, to go far at all. And Kentucky, I think, what led to the second half barrage was they said, screw it, we're going to go inside and score at will. And Amari Williams was perfect literally last night. Just a ridiculous stat line where he's 6 for 6 for the field, 5 for 5 from the stripe, 4 blocks, no fouls, just a perfect night, literally. And Andrew Carr, like I was saying, looks a lot healthier. He's banging bodies in the paint. And, Kentucky during that, I think it was it was like a 10-2 run or something. Maybe it was a little more than that. I forget exactly what the run was, but, Kentucky is able to build its lead by double digits just by banging in the paint. And then Vandy tried to mix up a little bit of zone and a 2-3. And when you do that against Kentucky, you're asking for more 3-pointers to be shot, and they banked home threes. So I thought Kentucky did a really good job at finally, after 3 halves against Vandy, just saying, screw it, we're going to use our size and we're going to win this game that way. So I just thought all around, for Mark Pope, for this quote unquote new look roster, Collin Chandler exploding a little bit, Andrew Carr looking himself, Kobe Brea hitting shots. I mean, it's a game you could definitely build on. The problem is Alabama, not only are they really good and already beat you in your house at full strength, they're coming off 2 straight losses and they're coming home. Like, this is not like, and obviously Kentucky played Alabama coming off a loss last time. Alabama had lost to Ole Miss at home.
Ole Miss by 10,
so, yeah. There's not many teams. I know they had they lost 2 in a row here. I can't tell you how often they've lost 2 in a row the last couple of years. Not much, but they're very, very, very deep. Unlike Kentucky, they're very well coached. Obviously, Nate Oates is one of the best, if not the best, in the sport right now. And it's a brutal matchup for Kentucky. Shorthand, it's a tough matchup for anyone, especially for a Kentucky team that's without their 2 lead guards. But you do like some of the things that you kind of put together. Really, again, going back to the Texas game, man. Outside of, and there were some bad spurts throughout the Texas game. Even when they took a 9-2 lead early, like Texas missed so many open shots, and it was kind of like, oh, they're begging you to kind of step on the gas and take a big lead. But it wasn't a perfect first 36 minutes, but they did enough to win against that team. That Trey Johnson's a monster. That's a lottery pick. Tremont Mark just has Kentucky's number. He did it last year at Arkansas too. Yeah. Other than that Texas team was without their starting forward and without another starting guard, and they didn't play very well. I don't think they had anyone else scoring double figures. The rebound, I know they got a bunch of offensive rebounds, but Kentucky did too. Like, there was nothing in the stat sheet. They only shot 5 or 23 from 3. Like, you go look at just the raw numbers, and outside of the offensive rebounds and the turnovers from Kentucky, which I'm not trying to downplay, but those were really the only 2 areas where, like, damn. Other than that, Kentucky was the better team all game, but for those 4 minutes. And, if they don't crumble down the stretch, you're talking about, what, a 4-game winning streak, and 2 of them without your 2 lead guards, both of your 2 lead guards. So, it's really frustrating they couldn't finish off that Texas game, because then you kind of go into this Alabama game, and it's more of a house money game than anything else. Now it's like, are they going to win this game? Probably not, but it's like you really want to try to, not that you don't want to always try to, but like, it feels a little more important to steal one of these Alabama or Auburn games than it did if you had just finished off Texas and won 4 in a row. It's just that Texas game. I think Georgia's the worst team that Kentucky's lost to. I know Arkansas, by all metrics probably is, but I think just watching how, we all know what Arkansas is talent wise. They're very talented. They just don't have enough. They don't have enough shot making. I think Georgia's the worst team they lost to. I think Arkansas is probably second. No, I think Ohio State's better than people give them credit for, but they're not the household name. So, fans are going to kind of kill them for that. But that Texas game, to me, is the most frustrating loss of the year, because you had it, and you can't excuse the fact that it's not the reason they lost that game wasn't because sure, would they have probably won if they had Lamont and Jackson? Yeah, maybe. But I put it out on Twitter and got kind of killed for it by some, and it was like 50-50. But like that's not a game you could say, yeah, we didn't have our 2 lead guards, so we lost. No, you're up by 8 right out of the gates. You're up by 7 early in the second half, and then that became I think a 3 or 4 point deficit. Then you're up by 5 with 3 minutes left, and 3 minutes and 50 minutes left. And to give you perspective that maybe wasn't shown on TV, the body language when I think it was Amari, I think they went up 5 after Amari Williams had an and 1. I think he missed a free throw, but the bucket on that he got fouled on put him up 5. And I'm telling you that Texas, that whole bench, some of the players on the court had their heads down. It was like, yep, that's the dagger. They looked dead in the water. And you let them come right down the court and get an and 1 of their own. You give up that offensive rebound on a free throw, because I think honestly it looked like Amari Williams, like, well, this Trey Johnson cat hasn't missed a free throw all game. He's not missing, so I'm not even going to box out. And then not only does Trey Johnson get his offensive board, he misses the putback, and you let another offensive rebound happen, and they put that one back in. You have Travis Perry with the awful turnover with the score 71-70. Like, that was a totally preventable loss. And obviously good on Kentucky for bouncing back last night. The second half, they were brilliant. I mean, after kind of just getting – it was kind of just a track meet in the first half. They really hunkered down defensively and kept – maintain what they were doing offensively, if not playing at an even higher level in the second half. So, you know, I'm not trying to underplay last night, but God, would it feel so much better if they had just won that Texas game, because it was right there for the taking, and you would have done it shorthanded, would have added another quad 1A win to your resume. And then again, you probably don't have to worry about stealing one against Alabama, Auburn now, or Missouri for that matter. Missouri is really damn good, and you still have them at the end of the year. So it feels like you have to steal one or two of those to feel completely safe in a 3 seed. If you somehow steal all three, which they're not going to, they probably move up to the 2 line. But you know, you want to feel you definitely need to take one of those games, if not 2 now. Whereas you probably didn't even need any of them if you had just closed out that Texas game. Just so frustrating. And again, you know, give credit to Texas. I'm not trying to rip them, but Kentucky's better than that team. There's no doubt in my mind, even shorthanded.
But I touched on it last week. I had a bad feeling about Texas for some reason.
Yeah,
I think because everybody, the 4-game winning streak was there. It was all getting talked up, and I just think I'm not speaking for the team, but we just assumed they're just going to win 4 in a row, and I just.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that with this team. They haven't done it. They haven't done it since non-conference.
Yeah, especially against unranked teams, and it was down there.
Yes.
First time Kentucky basketball had been down there, and who knows when. And I just
the first time playing Texas, and then the first time in Austin, only time in Austin other than the Patrick Sparks game in the 2005 NCAA tournament
when they should have beat Michigan State. Wow, but yeah. I just had a weird feeling about it. And look, I don't buy the shorthanded thing either. I know, you know, Karen Mills says fans can, and look, that's his guy. He played with Pope. He said we fans can kind of excuse they're shorthanded. You score 41 in the first half, and you know, then to me, when the game is in the balance, they go up 71-70. You have struggled to score 29 points in the second half when it mattered. You know, that to me, that's where the game was lost. I mean, 29 points, it's not going to cut it. When you scored 41 on them pretty easily, and then you struggled offensively the entire second half, and then you melted down in the last 3 minutes. And you only had 29 on the board before that. So, you know, 41 again last night. And then, like you said, you were able to, you know, choke Vanderbilt out and just hold him to 20 in the second half. And then, you know, you kind of bullied them. And this, you know, that's not something we used to seeing them do, because they're usually not the most physical team on the court, but they were last night. And you said the focus was to do that and exploit that.
Doubt.
So it was good to see. And Amari Williams, man, look, Collin Chandler deserves all the hype and the talk. But for Amari to do something that only Pau Gasol did in 2010, that's a Hall of Famer.
It's an insane performance.
Yeah, and I mean, Pau was skilled and a great big man, Hall of Famer. Won those championships with Kobe after Shaq left for Miami, and for that to November of 2010, nobody had done that on college or pro level. And Amari,
insane.
And we talked about it, how he's hitting his stride. He's kind of getting better, but still, I mean, the triple-double the other day, your tweet about the Texas game, Amari hits a 3, Kobe Bryant doesn't. So, you know, and now he puts this game on top of what he's already been doing. I mean, it's quite a little role that he's on, and gotta keep that. Gotta have him doing that every night, you know.
Yeah, look, he's been last night was historic. He had the triple-double a couple of games ago, which is only the 4th in program history. And some of the numbers on him are just like, again, this is a guy who struggled at the start of the season. I'll get into a
Mm-hmm.
couple of things I found here, stuff I was working on today on a story I wrote that's up now on catspaws.com. But Williams, the only player, this is per 40 minute statistics, to average 19 plus points, 16 plus rebounds, 5 plus assists per 40 minutes since in all of college basketball since the 74-75 season. Like he's doing something that hasn't been done in over 40 years. Is that 50 years? I don't even know.
50.
That's 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So
19, 16, and what again? Say that again.
19. This is per 40 minutes. 19 plus points, 16 plus rebounds, 5 plus assists. So yeah.
You know, Justin Rowland's tweeting out Oscar Tshiebwe or Amari Williams.
I'll get into why he's doing that. I as a rebounder, it's still Oscar Tshiebwe, but the reason he's doing that is because you look at let me see if I can find it. Yeah, the defensive percentage rebound rates. This year, Williams is at 30.4% of the defensive rebounds. That's sixth best in the country. Oscar was at 34.6 in his National Player of the Year. And then Williams at 15.9 overall rebounds per 40. Oscar was at 19 that year. And then obviously you take into account all the added things Williams does with being, only a couple rebounds behind Tshiebwe. I think that's why the arguments are out there right now. But honestly, the biggest thing for him outside, obviously he's playing this point forward role, but it's the finishing around the rim. And he talked about it last night, and Mark Pope talked about it last night, where you look at just how much improvement has been put into his game in that aspect. Obviously, he just looked uncomfortable early in the year, finishing around the rim. Mark Pope used the term rushed last night. I think that's pretty accurate. Non-conference play, he went, he had the 3 for 12 game from the field against Duke. And in the first 4 games, or he had a really good game against Florida. He went 6 for 7 from the field in that one. And then the next 4 games, he went 12 for 25, which is 48%. Since then, he's at 64% from the field. And keep in mind, like all but 3 of those attempts are at the rim or near it. So he's become a really good finisher. Obviously, last night he was perfect finishing. He's a crafty passer, what he does handling the ball. You just can't say enough about the work he's done and the improvement he's made. And look, without him, man, I'd say Otega always been their most consistent player. Obviously, you're scoring 10 a game every game. Late, he's at 20 the last 2 games. But I think Lamont Butler's the team MVP still right now. But if he misses the rest of the regular season, that award goes to Amari Williams. He does it all.
And we know this team, constructed quickly, but defensively, we knew Lamont and Amari, because they're both defensive players of the year in their conference. As far as defense, that's kind of what we're going to build around, those two, and then, put in other pieces however we want. And so,
yes.
7 foot 260. I'm like, okay. I'm like, it's been a roller coaster ride. Okay, we got this enforcer, we got this bruiser, we got this big, strong, athletic guy, and then, like you said, that adjustment from Drexel to Kentucky. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of waiting to see waiting to see. I remember before conference play, I'm like, well, athletically, we know this team isn't, full of freak athletes. So Amari's going to meet dudes that are just as big and strong as him. And
that's right.
I think Chinaloo dunked on him or blocked his dunk. And I'm like, oh boy. But he's continued to kind of get more and more comfortable. He's continued to play to his strengths, continue to use his size, use his, being a lefty, he has his advantages as well.
Yeah.
So he's gradually just continued to get more and more comfortable, and the numbers bear that out. So it's
no doubt.
We're from us being kind of like, well, what's this dude? Can he play? To he can. This is what he can do. So
he's going to be second team All SEC behind Janai Broome. There's no question in my mind on that. So it's I realized I omitted the data I was looking for. So he's just been so consistent. And the other thing too that the other thing too is he's cut down on the fouls. That was a huge issue, huge issue early in the season, and he went through that whole phase where he felt like he was always in foul trouble. Last night he has 0 fouls. The Texas game he has 2 fouls. So it's just Vandy on the road a couple weeks ago he had no fouls. So he's just playing better and better, and it's been fun to see the progression. And you got to remember he was the guy that Mark Pope chose as the first piece of this roster. I get that some of that's just timing and when he could get visits and whatnot, but there's a reason, I think, for everything. And he saw this kid being a perfect fit for what he wanted to do at the 5 position. And, the 5 position under Mark Pope is different than the 5 position under what John Calipari did, just as an example, or what other coaches do. He's outside a lot. He has to make a lot more decisions. He's got to still finish at a high level, and he's got to pass probably better and more so than he ever did in his time at Drexel. Yeah. And there's a lot on his plate, and they keep adding things to his plate, and yet he's still getting better and better. So really, really, really impressive.
Yeah, for sure. Gotta tip your cap to him. And I kind of subscribed, I think, to the they are what they are logic, because they're, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. All these guys are veterans, so they are what they are. Yes. And then maybe they can adjust. And Pope continues to talk about the growth of them playing together. Even so, these old dogs are learning new tricks and getting more on their plate, having to play out of position due to injury, having to continue to be shuffled in the lineup, in the rotation due to injuries. So it's, so
that is one thing that's been impressive, honestly, since like the second game of the season, where, and sometimes there are multiple things and they can't clean them all up at once, but it feels like whenever this team keys in and focuses on something specific, they answer the bell, right? Very early in the year, it was the allowing offensive rebounds that got better for a while. It kind of slipped again, and they improved it for a large stretch. It's fluctuated a little bit with the injuries, but overall that's been better. Obviously, since since the end of the Ole Miss game, it's really been all eyes on defense. And did they play their best defense at Texas? No, I also don't think they were awful defensively in that game. And then these 3 to 4 wins, they've held opponents under 70 in all of them, including Vandy, that's basically a top 25 efficient offense, and Tennessee that's not close behind that. So I know Tennessee has their shooting problems and lack of shooters or whatever, but that they've keyed in on that. The pick and roll defense still a little bit of a concern, but they've made strides to chip away at that. So all year long, when they've kind of said, all right, we have this big issue, they've kind of stepped up to the bell and done a nice job. And that includes, like you said, these 5th-year guys who you kind of assume they are what they are. But outside of he didn't play great defensively, and Mark Pope said it as much, but Kobe Bryant did not play well defensively against Texas, and really hasn't played well defensively for most of the season. But the last 3, he's really stepped it up. He helped them really win that South Carolina and Tennessee game with really good defense. He had a better defensive game last night. We just talked at length about what Amari Williams has done to improve. Lamont Butler, maybe it's kind of been in his bag his whole career, but obviously playing at San Diego State, a very slow, not 3-point heavy system out there. Terrific offensively all year long for this team. So it does feel like, whether it's the coaching, whether it's these players just being completely bought in, that they have been able to improve, even the guys who are 5th-year guys and more of known commodities. And that's even Jackson Robinson, right? When he was in his head for a long time, really snapped out of it, and he was playing excellent basketball up until when he got hurt. So yeah, a lot to like. And then I'll say this, I hope that next issue that they are like addressing the heck out of is stopping these forwards with these 3-point shooting forwards. They really, I put the stat out last night. It went down a little bit last night, but Kentucky and SC, I think it was in power conference games. So SEC play plus a couple more. Bigs were shooting 43 for 111 from three against them. That's 38.3. Texas was without a really good 3-point shooting big, Arthur Kalma. So that number probably would have been even higher if Kalma had played. Last night, Vandy's bigs went 2 for 7. McLaughlin did hit 2 in the first half, though. So that number's now 36.8%. But still, that's even too high. Obviously we saw what Big Z did against them. He torched them. McLaughlin in both these games has been a thorn in their side from three. Going back to trying to think, Milikchik has been the one guy on Tennessee that's absolutely dominated them. So they got to figure that out. Alabama, Grant Nelson really torched them in the game here. But he's on the year, he's only a 26% three shooter. So, and then Reed, their other forward, is 25-7. Clifford doesn't shoot threes, but Diabate shoots 37.5, and he's another guy that killed them. So it's something they've got to get cleaned up, and I hope that's kind of like their next big focus. But they've done a good job at answering the bell, to your point, every time.
Needed last night's Big Z in Lexington because he couldn't throw it in the ocean last night. That's the Z we needed. But he was
honestly that's who Arkansas has been all year. Like, they've been an efficient defense, and they've done it to their credit. After we know what happened defensively here last year, I think part of it's personnel, but Cal's got that under control this year. But they just can't throw it in the ocean. That team, but don't have
Robin Reed on that team either.
But to their credit, man, like, they came in here and hit every shot. They were motivated and good for them. But yeah, Big Z, I think went like 0 for 8, 0 for 7.
0 for 9, something.
0 for 9. Yeah.
But Alabama, like, with the exception of Auburn, every team has had some rough patches in the SEC. Everybody, nobody's immune except for Auburn. Having said that, Alabama has given up 204 points in their last 2 games, AG.
Yeah, they're the only defense that gives up more points than UK.
Auburn went up there and led wire to wire. I thought Alabama would get them at home and then maybe lose at Auburn. And then Missouri just ran roughshod. 110.
Oh, they're so good, man. Ooh. They are such a good team offensively.
So as shorthanded as we are, it's good to see this defense, as far as Mark Pope.
Yeah.
Because, they're not going to get it all fixed between now and Saturday, all their issues.
No.
So, be another shootout again like it was in Lexington. And, they're in their little funk right now. They're going through their little.
They are, but you'd
I'm
love
not
to
saying.
I know. This is a game, man. You just wish you had your guards. It's as simple as that. Jackson Robinson, I forgot exactly I don't actually think he had a great game in this Alabama game, but I know Lamont Butler played. That was one of the last games he played before they decided to shut it down. And I think he put up 17 in that game. I'm going to go pull up the box score from that right now. But yeah, look, Kentucky's going to be able to score points in this game, even if they don't have their 2 get into the 80s and 90s. The problem is, even with all these issues, what did Alabama score last night? I know they lost. They scored over close to 100, 98. Yeah, and then they still scored on a bad offensive night. They scored 85 against Auburn.
Yeah.
So they can score at will, and Kentucky can't really, with all the injuries. And obviously, another issue is Alabama plays at the highest tempo of any team in college basketball, and Kentucky's undermanned. So fatigue is going to be a real problem. I think it was an issue. I think it's not an excuse. It is what it is, unfortunately. At the end of the Texas game, that was a big thing. So in that game at Rupp Arena here, Kentucky actually only shot, well, I shouldn't say only, they shot 40% from 3. Jackson Robinson went 3 for 7 from deep, finished with 11 points. Otega Owe went for 21, just 8 for 14 from the field. Lamont Butler was 6 for 14 from the field. He scored 17. Ansley Almanor hit 2 threes off the bench, 10 points. So it was pretty. Kobe Bray went 2 for 3 from 3. So it was kind of a balanced scoring attack that night. Owe scored 21, but and Lamont went for 17. Everyone else was either low teens or were under Andrew Carr only had 4 that game. Actually, that's crazy. So Kentucky in that game, every player that played in that game for Kentucky outside of Travis Perry and Andrew Carr were in double figures. Kobe Bryant went for 10. Brandon Garrison went for 11. Almanor 10. Butler 17. Robinson 11. Owe 21. And Williams 13. So the problem was Alabama, they only shot 38% from 3, but they made 13. Mark Sears hit 4 threes in that game. They were 85% from the free throw line. Grant Nelson had a double-double. All those issues are going to – and they were down a player, and one of their big guys was out, who I believe is back. Is it Reed? Darion Reed, maybe? Let me pull that up real quick. Yes, Darion Reed. He missed that game, and he's a big piece in their front court. He's a hustle player, freshman, 6'8", matchup problem for Kentucky there. So it's going to be an extremely hard game for an Alabama team that's going to be motivated, having lost 2 in a row, coming home. Yeah. Probably, it's either going to be only 2 or 3 home games left for them. So it's going to be really tough, but you're right. This one's not impossible. I honestly don't think any of them are impossible. I think Kentucky is a good enough team, when healthy, to beat just about anyone. They can also lose to anyone. That's just the frustration of this season. But, of the 3 games left, like, I don't know, the way Missouri's playing right now, that Alabama might, of those 3 monsters they still have to play, it might be that this is the one to get, the way Missouri's rolling right now. And again, it all comes back to health. It's hard in these big top 5 games to have too much of an expectation, especially on the road, if Kentucky's still going to be undermanned. And I know Lamont Butler looked like he was practicing. Maybe I don't think that's going to be anything for Saturday. I think maybe you're looking at the Auburn game for him. And Jackson, I don't know what the deal is there. I just hope he's back for come tournament time. As of now, that's my educated guess on it. So it's going to be really, really hard. Long story short, this is not an easy game, but you're right. You can score on this team. There's no reason Kentucky shouldn't score at least 85 in this game. It's the one team in the SEC that gives up more points than Kentucky, and it's a team that Kentucky put up 97 against without Jackson Robinson going nuclear. So, again, not impossible. Kentucky gets up for these games. I expect them to put up a good fight. I don't expect this to be a bloodbath like some are probably projecting, but going to be a very, very tall task to beat an Alabama team I expect to play some of its best basketball of the year. And we saw it when they came in here. They were coming off the loss to Ole Miss. They were pissed off, and they took it out on Kentucky. But I will say this: I'll give you 2 other positive notes. One, maybe now, one thing that Nate Oates talks about, to his credit, probably more than most coaches across the league, is their goal of winning the SEC. Now that they're 2 games behind Auburn, you could probably throw that out, and then you have Florida in that mix as well. And then their remaining schedule, like, they have to be – they just had Auburn and Missouri. So those are 2 of the best teams in the league. They play Kentucky. They play Kentucky on Saturday. They play Mississippi State on Tuesday. Then they go to Tennessee. Then they come home and play Florida. And then they go to Auburn. Yeah. Like, that is – they play – outside from Ole Miss, they play all the best teams in this league. Yeah. So, like you could be – it is a classic, like, I wouldn't say look ahead because Mississippi State's up next, not Florida or Tennessee, but, like, you're kind of –
you rather game with Mississippi State in
they sure did. So you're not like – this is not a good time to get them, but it's not – I don't think it's awful. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think Kentucky's going to win this game. I think Alabama's probably going to win by 3 or 4 possessions, but I don't think it's impossible, especially if there's a miracle in one of those 2 guys. I don't think Jackson Lamont plays, so we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and
this is a good game where Lamont shouldn't get beat up, by the way, because, Alabama is physical down low. They're not physical at the point of attack.
Yeah, it's definitely a tall task. Throw in the fact they lost 2 in a row, but it's just this league is a monster. Everybody goes through their funks. Kentucky had their little, the Georgia, even with the injuries.
It's really other than you got to throw Florida in the not really having a funk mix too. By the way, I know they've had 3 losses, but like they're all spread out. So I got to throw Florida in there with Auburn, and they went down and kicked Auburn's ass shorthand.
They did. So
So
yeah, I guess they're Auburn super immune in
Auburn's
Florida.
yeah. That's fair.
Or,
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah,
I mean,
because
Florida's they're dangerous, man.
yeah, they are. It's Tennessee, Kentucky, and who was the
Yeah.
other loss?
Missouri at home.
Oh yeah, and
By
Missouri
1 point.
was
Yeah.
drilling them, and then
Yeah.
Florida came back. That's right.
That's a
That's right.
really good Missouri team. Like they are
Mhm.
the most. I think like Texas A&M. Obviously they're very physical and their style is really unique. But if I were like, I know right now A&M's ranked 7th and Mizzou's ranked 15th. I'd kind of like, and I know A&M actually beat them, so maybe this is stupid, but like when I watch those two teams, I'd flip them. Like Missouri looks like the 7th best team in the country, and A&M kind
Yeah.
of looks more like the 15th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So fun stuff, man. Safe travels to Tuscaloosa. Thoughts go out to everybody in East Kentucky with the
Absolutely.
flooding.
Yeah.
It's a lot of high water where I'm from. Flooding, some roads closed at the other end of the county, but Pike County, Floyd County, a lot of surrounding counties where I'm at, just really like Pike County is
Yeah, it's
just
heartbreaking,
ditches
man.
out of
And
there.
they just went through this 3
Yeah.
years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of ways to donate. I know UK has some links out. They were advertising the heck out of it, as they should, at the game last night. So
had the truck filling up,
yep.
loading it up. Yeah, headed that way. So
yeah, just heartbreaking. I mean, these poor people just kind of going through the same stuff again, and all the best to them as they go through another tough time here.
Yeah, and shout out to the Harlan County Black Bears basketball team. They popped up there last night to watch Trent play, so they were
cool.
They were able to take a trip and go and watch Trent last night. So that was cool.
Awesome.
They got to go up there. Be safe heading to Tuscaloosa, man, and
appreciate you, man.
We'll see what happens. Y'all check Aaron out at thecatspaws.com. Like you mentioned, all the stories that continue after the game. Other stories besides the recaps, the Mark Pope exclusive. Check out all of the content there, catspaws.com. Check us out at believe.com. Follow us at Believe in Kentucky, YouTube and Twitter and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We've had fans of the show, fans of other teams. Give us good reviews and subscribe and give us 5 stars. So BBN, y'all do the same. And we definitely appreciate it. And we'll put a bow in this episode. So Aaron Gershon, this is Vinny Hardy. It's been another episode of Believe in Kentucky on the Believe Podcast Network. Go Cats, and we'll see y'all next time.